Mother Gorilla found a human baby. She ignored the opposition of her kind, brought him back and raised him as her own son. He grew up under her care and became known as Tarzan. Living with gorillas since he was a child, Tarzan grew up under the protection of his gorilla mother. However, the gorilla leader was hostile towards the human infant, continuously trying to get rid of him. Luckily, the mother gorilla treated him as her own, comforting his wounded soul. His gorilla brothers were also friendly towards him. Under this treatment, Tarzan survived tenaciously, gradually adapting to the law of the jungle. Under the training of the gorillas, he developed lightning-fast speed and a body as strong as the gorillas. Even the leopards kept their distance when they saw him. He slowly conquered the beasts of the forest and learned to communicate with them. The gorilla leader no longer expelled him and began to consider him as one of their own, even seeing him as the king of the beasts. One day, tribesmen living at the foot of the mountain invaded the forest, completing their rite of passage. One young man shot and killed the mother gorilla who was feeding. Tarzan, heartbroken and enraged, retaliated by killing the man, but nobody had expected that the man he killed was the son of the chief of the Bunga tribe. The chief vowed to avenge his son at all costs. Tarzan felt guilty for his actions. To avoid endangering the other gorillas, he chose to leave without saying goodbye. He departed from the gorilla group. Tarzan developed a strong hatred towards humans, until one day, a volunteer teacher from a nearby village ventured into the forest. Tarzan was curious about this unusual woman, as he had been single for 15 years. Even insects around him were male. Her scent made Tarzan slightly addicted. Tarzan sniffed her from head to toe. Jane couldn't take it anymore.
Oh, I don't think so, wild man.
With a scream, Tarzan was startled and ran off. Jane followed him all the way, but ended up entering the gorilla territory. Just as the gorillas were about to harm Jane, Tarzan appeared in time to save her. To protect the girl, Tarzan shielded Jane with his body, blocking the gorillas' attacks. The gorillas believed Tarzan had betrayed the group and continually punched him, leaving him half dead. Thanks to Jane, who brought him back to the tribe for timely treatment. Afterward, Jane patiently taught him human language. Under Jane's influence, Tarzan transformed into a normal person, and the two developed feelings for each other over time. Later, Tarzan found his parents' will, learning about his identity. His father turned out to be a renowned British noble. During a sea accident, his pregnant mother was stranded in the Congo rainforest, but unfortunately, she succumbed to a serious illness shortly after giving birth to Tarzan. His father encountered gorillas and, not knowing what to do, was killed by them. With Jane's help, Tarzan returned to human society, inherited his father's estate and changed his name, enjoying a high-class life with Jane. Within a blink of an eye, 10 years passed. Tarzan became a member of parliament when he was summoned by the King of Belgium to serve as a commercial envoy and inspect the local situation in Africa. Seeing Tarzan, who had been raised by the gorillas in the Congo, was the perfect individual for this mission. However, Tarzan did not want to disrupt his peaceful life and declined the king's invitation. As he was about to leave, Ambassador Black from the United States approached Tarzan, informing him that the King of Belgium had spent 7 years establishing his rule over the Congo, pouring all his money into the construction of a railroad while closing off all routes to the outside world. Suspicions arose that the king was implementing slavery in the Congo. To investigate this slavery issue in the Congo, Ambassador Black hoped Tarzan could lead him to the Congo to confirm and then expose the conspiracy to the world. For the sake of the Congolese people, Tarzan agreed. He felt guilty for involving Jane in this journey, since she had always wanted to return to her tribe in the Congo to visit her old friends. But Tarzan opposed this idea, believing it was unsafe there. However, Jane insisted on going. Unable to resist, Tarzan reluctantly agreed. Soon, Tarzan, his wife Jane, and Ambassador Black set out on their journey to the Congo. As the trio arrived at the plains, Tarzan encountered a childhood playmate. After many years, Tarzan returned to his homeland and was warmly welcomed by his long-lost tiger sister. Both Tarzan and his heart were filled with excitement, unaware that he was slowly being drawn into a conspiracy. In 1884, European powers were discussing the division of Africa. During that time, the King of Belgium targeted the mineral-rich and ivory-filled Congo basin, claiming it as his own. However, 5 years later, the king found himself heavily in debt due to the expansion of his new colony. Desperate for funds, he sent his most trusted minister, Ram, deep into the Congo, in search of the legendary Oprah to pay off his debts. Legend had it that Oprah was hiding vast amounts of diamonds. However, when Ram found Oprah, he discovered that the Bunga tribe had already occupied the area, and the man killed by Tarzan turned out to be the son of the Bunga tribal chief. Thus, this was a trap that led to Tarzan's return.
Action's ready, sir! Fire!
The soldiers opened fire, but only hit emptiness. They cautiously approached the mist, only to find crosses hanging with the bodies of their comrades. When the mist dispersed, they were already surrounded by a group of locals wielding spears, who emerged from the water and caught them off guard. With the locals on the hillside coordinating, throwing countless spears, the warlord's troops were instantly decimated. The locals hidden in the water were skilled in combat. In less than 3 minutes, they had executed the remaining soldiers, except for the Belgian minister Ram, who was sent by the king. The chief knew they had come for diamonds, but instead of killing him, they generously gave him 3 diamonds in exchange for luring luring Tarzan into the jungle for revenge, and promised that once the man was taken away, the diamonds would be his in abundance. Under this temptation, Ram and his employer reached an agreement, so Ram used his connections, under the guise of a surveying expedition, tricked Tarzan and 2 others to the Congo. Once there, Tarzan and the others arrived at the tribe where Jane once taught. They were warmly welcomed, as the whole tribe gathered around a fire to celebrate, with ancient songs and reminiscing about the past, during which Tarzan inquired the tribe chief about the king of Belgium's involvement in slave trade. They had no idea that night Ram and his men had sneaked into the tribe, and swiftly subdued the people, threatening them to reveal Tarzan's whereabouts. But the chief, a man of integrity, refused to give in. Tarzan, with his sharp reflexes, evaded the soldiers sent to capture him, and emerged to fight back. As he planned to approach Ram to rescue the chief, he was ambushed by soldiers hiding in wait, who quickly captured him. Ram intended to take Tarzan's wife and a dozen tribesmen as slaves on the ship. Tarzan was bound up and carried away to trade with another tribe chief, but Ram had overlooked one person, the black man who accompanied Tarzan. He led local tribesmen to launch a counterattack, turning the tables. Seeing the imminent defeat, Ram fled in haste, accidentally releasing Tarzan, but the black man could only save Tarzan without the development of the plot. With Jane and some tribesmen held captive on the ship, she learned that this was all a meticulously planned scheme by Ram to capture Tarzan, in exchange for diamonds with the tribe chief. Tarzan rallied the remaining tribe members. After discussing a plan, they decided to rescue Jane and the others before Ram reached the tribe. While Jane, bound on the ship, realized that everything was orchestrated by Ram for his own gain, believing that as long as she was in his hands, Tarzan would come for her. Diverting the course of the Congo River, they had a plan to chase after Ram, whether through the jungle or atop the train. They chose to board the train to save time. Tarzan tested the vine's elasticity to ensure the safety of the black man, and then gestured for the man to climb on his back, propelling themselves on the vines to the speeding train. The soldiers on guard on the train had not anticipated being swiftly kicked off by them. They never expected these primitive tribesmen to be paratroopers. In an open carriage at the back of the train sat many soldiers from the tribe, looted by the army from the tribe. The oppression fueled Tarzan's anger as he ventured into the carriage, filled with Belgian soldiers. The cramped space didn't allow for the use of firearms. These ordinary soldiers were no match for Tarzan. With a few swift blows, he subdued them. With the help of the black man who intimidated, the chief engineer gave in, and revealed Ram's greater conspiracy. Ram's plan to enslave over 900 locals, to build a bridge linking to Congo. With the profit from diamonds, he could mobilize 20,000 mercenaries, and enslave the indigenous peoples of Congo, to mine the treasures of the land, and transport the diamonds out, using the diamonds to buy an army to rule the nation, and elevate him for life. Knowing this, Tarzan knew he was the key to build the mercenary army, to dominate Congo. He can be the instrument to prevent this atrocity. When the train stopped, he sent the slaves to free more captives, while he pursued Ram alone, to stop his plan and save the Congo. Wanting to confront Ram as quickly as possible, he had to cross the jungle, to save time and catch up with Ram. But further ahead lied the territory of the gorillas. Others following could be in danger. Although the black had obtained Ram, and the evidence of the king's involvement in slave trade, he saw Tarzan as a friend, and insisted on joining him. But as they ventured into the jungle, they were intercepted by a clan of gorillas. The last thing Tarzan wanted to face had come, and his gorilla brothers stood nearby, due to his sudden disappearance into human society. After the death of his gorilla mother, betrayal in the gorilla world is leaving without a word. The gorilla brothers would not easily let Tarzan pass. Can Tarzan reclaim his agility and wildness to contend with his gorilla brothers? Taishan took off his shirt, and actually wanted to challenge a gorilla. Then Taishan began to adjust his breathing. The gorilla also started to pound its chest and stomp its feet. A showdown between man and ape was about to begin. Taishan charged towards the gorilla first, but the gorilla saw Taishan as a traitor, so he naturally didn't hold back. Roaring, he charged towards Taishan. A gorilla's punch can deliver a force of 1 million grams, with an arm span that can reach an astonishing 3 meters. In terms of height, weight, and jungle speed, he held an absolute advantage. Perhaps in the past, Taishan could have held his own against the gorilla, but due to being away from the forest for too long, Taishan was completely outmatched. In close combat, the outcome turned into a one-sided beating. First, the gorilla swung his fists, displaying his hammering strength. Taishan endured the heavy blows with a grimace of pain. Then the gorilla turned to his companion to showcase his strength, continuously pounding his chest. As he celebrated his victory, Taishan stood up again. Despite his large build, he appeared extremely weak next to this brother. Although Taishan had formidable fighting skills, in the end, he was no match for the gorilla. In a melee, it turned into a one-sided beating. The gorilla first worked his fists, then bit Taishan hard, causing him to wince in pain. After that, the gorilla turned to the black man holding a gun. The black man, intimidated, stepped back.
Get on your knees and bow. Right now!
At Taishan's urging, the black man quickly knelt down in submission, even trembling with fear. He asked,
"You want me to lick his nuts too?"
If you want to live.
I wasn't gonna.
A roar scared the black man into immediately prostrating himself on the ground. The gorilla proudly puffed out his chest, and the black man pleaded frantically for mercy. Thus, he narrowly escaped with his life. The black man rushed to help Taishan reset his dislocated arm. But the torn wound was hard to close without needle and thread. This was not a problem for Taishan, who picked up the head of an ant and placed it on the wound. When the ant bit the wound shut, he tore off its lower body and used the ant to stitch up the wound, a survival technique in the jungle. After tending to the wound, they also took the opportunity to eat some ants for energy, tasting similar to chicken. The next day, as Ram's ship sailed into the territory of the hippos, Taishan's wife, Jane, was not idling either. She used tribal language to plan an escape with the captured tribe members. In anger, the soldiers tossed the cage into the water as punishment, but Jane managed to break free from the soldier and dove into the water. With her excellent swimming skills, she freed the tribe members from captivity just in time. When the soldiers pulled up the cage, it was already empty, facing the territory of the hippos. Ram's team dared not send anyone down the river to pursue them. Thankfully, the two of them made it to shore in time, dodging the hippos' attacks. Jane then ran into the jungle with the tribe members. Although they temporarily escaped Ram's control, Jane knew that Ram's target was only herself, so she instructed the tribe members to return to the tribe from another direction to fetch reinforcements, while she lured the pursuing soldiers away alone. A woman crossed into the territory of gorillas. The gorillas thought Jenny was there to provoke them, immediately bared their teeth and growled a warning. Luckily, Jenny had been with Tarzan for a long time and understood the law of the jungle survival of the fittest. She immediately knelt down to show the utmost respect, while Ram and his team caught up. Seeing the situation, Ram ordered his men not to act rashly. Then he walked over slowly by himself and mimicked the same actions. Jenny agreed to follow him, on the condition that the gorillas would not be harmed. But just then, a handsome man accidentally fired his gun and shot one of the gorillas dead. Jenny immediately screamed in horror. From a distance of over 10 miles away, Tarzan looked towards the commotion. He could somehow sense Jenny's distress and leaped off a cliff, swinging like a pendulum towards the depths of the forest. While chaos ensued on Jenny's end, gunshots became a death knell for the gorillas, facing the heartless shootings of humans. Gorillas, despite their strength, were still mortal, unable to withstand the power of bullets. One by one, they fell, their screams echoing in the valley. Frantically running towards the scene, Tarzan wished he could instantly appear before them. The gorilla brothers arrived at the scene upon hearing the commotion and charged towards the gun barrels. Just as one was about to be shot, Tarzan arrived in time to save him. Other gorillas quickly followed suit and swiftly incapacitated a group of soldiers. In this moment of unity, the two brothers who grew up together finally set aside their differences, joining forces to fight side by side. The soldiers quickly fled in disarray. In his haste to rescue his wife, Tarzan pursued on his own, but when the old black man finally arrived, he witnessed a gruesome scene. While Jenny had been captured and taken to the chief's territory by Ram, Tarzan had been seamlessly led to the chief by fate. Most importantly, Ram managed to steal several boxes of diamonds in the process. If Ram succeeded, the entire country would be plunged into chaos. However, a group of natives intercepted Tarzan along the way. The chief had been waiting for this moment for a very long time, and now, the two began to settle their old debts. Through Tarzan's recollections, the origin of their conflict was revealed. Both the chief and Tarzan were pitiable figures. The chief's son had fatally shot Tarzan's gorilla caretaker with an arrow. In their eyes, the same act had different meanings. To the chief's son, the gorilla was merely an animal, and killing it would prove his bravery. But to Tarzan, the gorilla was family, and avenging her death was a matter of honor. Now, Tarzan told the chief that their true enemy was not each other. Once Ram acquired the diamonds, he would inevitably hire an army to occupy the land and enslave all the native inhabitants for profit. The land was rich in diamonds, but the chief's mind was clouded by vengeance, determined only to avenge his son's death. Yet, everything in the world has a reason for existing. Everything has a spirit. When we take, we should do so with restraint, reduce our own desires, and decrease our dependence on the surrounding environment in order to achieve a natural balance in the ecosystem. This is something that humanity must reflect on today. Not letting our desires lead to unnecessary takings, for what you gain may mean loss for someone else.
Finish it! Finish it! Stop!
Your son killed the only person who ever cared about me.
It wasn't an animal.
She was my mother.
How was it to know?
When the two of them faced off, they explained the reason behind it. Both sides were deeply helpless. At this moment, Tarzan's brother arrived with other gorillas. With their participation, everything became manageable. The stars roared at the crowd, quickly stopping the fight. Then, Kerchak also began to persuade the chief to let go of their hatred. The tribe's feud will not end in complete annihilation, but the insatiable Ram would surely destroy everyone to protect their common homeland. The two sides finally resolved their grievances. Ram, with Jane and the diamond, had already sailed away. He was about to have his own army. At that moment, Jane looked at the distant forest with a slight smile. Soon, Tarzan arrived at Ram's headquarters at the port. There were 2,000 fully armed soldiers stationed on the shore. In the nearby waters, dozens of boats had already slowly approached the shore. Once they got the diamond, the 20,000 soldiers on the ship would land, ready to obey Ram's command. Tarzan knew that if they charged directly, they would only meet bullets. Fortunately, Tarzan had an extraordinary ability. At his call, All the beasts in the forest gathered together, rushing to help. Countless zebras charged toward Ram's camp, causing earthquakes and tremors. The herds of zebras charged through, like an armored force, wherever they went, whether it was a military camp or a mansion. In less than 3 minutes, all were smashed to pieces by the wild beasts. At this moment, one couldn't help but be amazed by the scene and the special effects. It was truly awe-inspiring and powerful. All the native soldiers in the Congo also rushed to support. Seeing the situation, Ram hurriedly pressed Jane, ran away with the diamond in a frenzy. Tarzan mounted a wild buffalo, like a god of war, overcoming everything in his path. In order to take down Tarzan, the soldiers used Jane as bait and hung her up, then raised their guns and shot wildly. Tarzan resisted a bullet, then grabbed the rope and leaped into the air, kicking the machine gunner to his death, successfully grabbed Jane and saved her. But the cunning Ram took the opportunity to sail away. Tarzan had no intention of letting Ram this threat go, continuing the chase without stopping, passing through a hail of bullets, then jumping into the water to continue pursuit. Seeing Tarzan jump into the water, Ram smugly walked into the cabin. To buy time for Tarzan, Kerchak actually found a powerful weapon, immediately pulled the trigger, unleashing a barrage of fire. Facing the sudden hail of bullets, the soldiers only had to flee. After a fierce firefight, the entire ship was pierced with countless holes, and began to slowly sink. At this point, Tarzan had successfully boarded Ram's ship but did not find Ram's figure. However, when he picked up the diamond to leave, Ram once again revealed his secret weapon. The secret weapon was a chain made of special spider silk, which could be worn on the hand or wrapped around an enemy's neck, making it difficult for the enemy to escape. Suddenly, more and more crocodiles surged into the water. However, Ram was unaware that they were reinforcements summoned by Tarzan, as he was busy calling the head mercenary to come over for the deal. Suddenly, Tarzan countered, using his powerful neck muscles. He broke the hidden weapon with a sudden force, then used both legs to kick Ram away, handing him over to the crocodiles. However, at this moment, the steam engine on the ship suddenly erupted in a violent explosion. A box of diamonds fell directly into the seabed. Fortunately, Tarzan had the ability to protect himself. Under Jane's worried gaze, Tarzan, who had escaped from the exploding ship, embraced Jane tightly from behind. One couldn't help but say, Tarzan's kung fu is truly amazing. He not only protected the forest, but also protected this land. The African tribe and the animals cheered for the victorious reunion. Seeing this situation, the head mercenary could only lead his men to retreat. After some time, based on the evidence collected, Kerchak brought the Belgian king to military court. Tarzan did not return to England either, but returned to the tribe life with his wife, living a happy life with children. For them, the elegant high society was not as good as their jungle life.